It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today and get yourself some indoor kart racing done. We always talk about it during the wintertime. It's a great time to be over there, and now with it bringing spring and quite a bit of rain, you could still go out and race. I remember that years ago there used to be that outdoor karting facility on Highway 92. The only thing I remember about it, I was a little kid when that thing closed, but I remember, I guess I wasn't that little because I think we had my 16th birthday party out there, but there was just a chicken. Do you remember that?
I don't remember the 92 one. I mean, when I was little,
okay,
you know, like when your dad was little, they actually used to have a track out in Irvington, not too far, you know, about a mile east or so of Sunset Speedway.
Yeah, and this one was. I mean, it was a putt-putt course and a golf and a go-kart track. But like I've always talked about with Joe's Karting, they had governors on their carts, so you went maybe 7-8 miles an hour.
Are you talking about the little figure-8 track east of Council Bluffs?
No, it wasn't a figure-8. It was a road course.
They had a track out, I'm going to say off of Highway 6 when I was in high school, east of Council Bluffs. And like after high school, when I was 18 and you could buy beer in Iowa in 18, it would be a stop. We'd get beer, ride a few carts.
Would that be up by Iowa Western or?
Yeah, it was out kind of, but that was before Iowa Western.
Okay.
Iowa Western was no longer, was not around. But yeah, it was out there. You just went straight through Broadway and headed out. You know, it turns into Highway 6 out there. And it was out there somewhere. I don't think it was to the interstate, so you were for the interstate. But it was a little figure-8 track where you kind of had a bridge and an over-under deal. And of course, since you were always turning, you never went fast because you'd just be spinning the tires and stuff. But it was still something. We did it almost every Saturday night. And, I mean, it cost back then. It was, 10 laps for $2 or whatever.
Yeah, get over to Joe's today. Like we were talking about, inclement weather restricts you from being able to go and race at these places, but not at Joe's Karting. You can be indoors. It's nice and warm. The obviously with the roof, the rain doesn't become a factor. And one thing that I talk about whenever we go over to Knoxville, I try to go over to that Slideways Karting Center, which is just it's smaller than Mini E, to give you an idea of how small this track is. And when we were up there racing a couple of years ago with McKenna Haase and Chris Krug, it started raining, and they just kept going, and which kind of made it fun at one point. But then the other side of it was, I paid good money to race this track, and it became a
slick track.
It became racing on glass, but not at Joe's Karting. You get the same surface nearly every time. Joe'sKarting.com for more information. Again, karting with a K. As always, because of Joe's Karting, we're able to put our shows up on YouTube, and thanks to Creative Element, we've had a little bit of some technical glitches working with YouTube over the last couple of weekends and getting the show posted at 10 a.m. Hope those issues are worked out, so if you missed any part of today's show or you missed our conversation with the Bade girls last weekend, McKenna Haase the weekend before that, Lindsey Tyson, Jack Dover, all the interviews we've done. Our great interview with Pat Warren. Love talking to Pat, as always. You can always go back to the YouTube channel and check out all those interviews and get the full extended ones, because with guys like Jack, there's so much to talk about with somebody that's so knowledgeable like Jack and so well spoken that a lot of times we'll take a half an hour and sit down and talk with him, but only 10 or 15 minutes of it will make it on the air because we have an hour time constraint.
Same with Scott Bloomquist. He's always willing to talk to us, and 45 minutes to an hour is not unheard of with Scott, and we like it because he's got a ton of information and so much knowledge.
Talk about someone that's so educated and so well spoken. And Scott, he's such a great conversation, and when you get him in that right mood, he'll tell you anything. And he's so clean. I love talking to the guy. Part of my man crush is because of how good of an interview he is, and it makes our job easy. I mean,
absolutely.
How many times during the Legends of the Dirt series, there's these old guys that they don't talk a lot, they don't say a lot. They don't need to say a lot of things, and we're 8 minutes into the interview, and I'm looking over at you because I've ran through my list of 15 questions already, and I'm like, we've got another 30 minutes with this guy. What are we going to do?
Yeah, it's they've got to the point, and they raced before social media.
Yeah,
that's why some of our younger drivers, are so good, and they realize, they've seen the stories about, you want to make it in racing, you got to learn to talk.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's a key thing. All right, today's show, we are going to, in turn number 1, we're going to talk about the playoff picture, give you what it looks like 7 races in. I realize there's still 18 races left to go, so the picture is going to change a lot between now and Richmond, but to give you an idea of what the stage points and the playoff points have done for the playoff picture coming up in turn number 1. Then in turn number 2, we sit down with Wayne Q and John Orlowski. He's the owner of the GOTRA series, the Good Old Time Racing Association. We're going to talk about their plans for 2017, their big race weekends, and when you can catch them and where you can catch them. Turn number 3, we will talk about the NASCAR headlines. There's been a lot that's come out this week. I thought we were going to have a big news story to talk about today. Turns out we have a good news story to talk about, not the big news story we were expecting or we were suspecting. And then at turn number 4, we will preview Bristol. And once again, Dirk, we've got some news to talk about with Bristol and what they're doing to that track to help bring in both grooves. So that's coming up in turn number 4. All right, let's talk about this playoff picture. And a lot of the questions I get is with the playoff stage win, or with the stage wins and the playoff points, how is that factoring into where my driver's sitting in the championship standings? As of right now, Kyle Larson is your points leader, and NASCAR qualifies this strictly by points. Kyle has a 17-point lead over Chase Elliott. Martin Truex Jr. down 40 points from the leader. Brad Keselowski 4th, Joey Logano 5th. But if you look at the playoff picture, take a wild guess at who is your playoff points leader right now.
I'm going to say the Miller Lite Deuce.
You're absolutely right. Brad Keselowski with 2 race wins. Oddly enough, no stage wins. Has 10 playoff points, and those playoff points are going to carry into now. One of the rule changes they made when they implemented the stage racing is that playoff points will carry through to the round of 8. The only time, as soon as the playoff points will drop off, or when the playoff points will drop off, will be the championship round of 4 at Homestead. So these 10 points that Brad Keselowski gets, now after Richmond, they're going to retally everybody's points to 2,000 and then factor in the playoff bonus points. So Brad's going to have those 10 extra points plus whatever he gains for the next 18 races. They're going to carry through to the final race of the qualifying rounds.
Well, what it amounts to then is if he makes it to the round of 12, when they reset at 3,000, he still gets those 10 playoff points if it's not 25 playoff points by then.
Right.
So yeah, and then if he makes it to the round of 8, he'll get his whatever playoff points, those 10 playoff points again, and if he wins a race there or advances through points and is in the final, it's a winner-take-all at that point.
Right. And that's something that drivers are really wanting, and especially Martin Truex Jr., because he was eliminated in the second round last year after a blown engine at Kansas and a blown engine at Talladega. I mean, he was one of the hottest guys last year. With Joe Gibbs Racing being so hot in the first 26 races, Martin Truex Jr. was riding that coattail and carrying it a little bit. I guess I shouldn't say riding that coattail because that's a little bit of a negative connotation, but Martin was definitely driving that bus for the Toyota Racing organization.
Yeah, he was the lead man, but I don't care which one of those stages you're in, the round of 16, the round of 12, the round of 8. If you blow 2 engines in 3 races, you ain't going nowhere.
I think if the playoff points would have carried through, now we would have to go back and recalculate everything, how much the stage points he'd have, the race win points he'd have. But it feels to me, if we're already 7 races in and Martin Truex Jr. has 9 playoff points, he would have been somewhere in the 20s, and that actually would have carried him through to the round of 8. Because I think he was eliminated by only about 5 or 10 points. It wasn't much because he had such a big lead going into the race at Kansas, and that set him back to be on the bubble. And then the blown engine at Talladega was the nail in the coffin for their championship hopes.
I didn't think he had such a big lead because I'm trying to think of what race was before Kansas. I remember he won Chicago. He won the very first race in the chase. He won at Chicago, so he was automatically into that round of 12.
I believe it would have been, let's see, how did the first race in the chase, the first race in the round of 8 would have been, because I'm looking at it from last year. This year it's Charlotte, Talladega, Kansas. So it would have been Charlotte was the first race, then Kansas would have been the second race, and Talladega would have been the third.
But he didn't win at Charlotte, so he couldn't have had too big a lead.
He did win. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he finished.
He won the World. He won the Memorial, the May race.
He won at Chicagoland and Dover in the first round.
Right.
But then,
then they reset.
Then it didn't matter any. But
that's what I'm saying.
And it doesn't look like he finished in the top 5 for the Charlotte race last year.
Yeah. See, if you blow 2 engines in 3 races, you're not moving on unless you win.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Well, this year it may be different. This year those playoff points may be able to carry him through because I remember Brad Keselowski also had an issue at Talladega, and that race eliminated him also. So there was 2 guys that fell out of it because of blown engines. And to the driver's credit and to what fans have said also, like you've said, you don't like a champion being established off of a 10-race, now a 1-race finale. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. You have to be great all 10 of those final races.
Well, my point is playoffs are good for stick and ball sports. You got a 160-game schedule in baseball. Then we're going to narrow it down to 8 teams that are the best out of those 162 games and have a champion. In racing, you race every team every week.
Yeah.
It's not like if you did it to where they somehow figured out a schedule, like we're going to put 40 cars on the track, but the 2's going to race the 17 this week, and the 4 is going to race the 42 this week, etc. And they matched them up and did win-losses that way, and then took the racers at the end, the best 16, and had a thing. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be cool. I don't know how they would do that and make a schedule that was anywhere close to equal. Because let's just face it, if you're the 2 and you're going to race the 83 this week, you pretty much got your win figured out for you, But to go into a playoff system in a sport that doesn't need a playoff, I think is wrong. You got a season champion. You always had season champions. For 50 years, you had season champions. Let's just have a season champion and race 36 races.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying
Don't
to
give
look
me
up.
That. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to look up where Truex would have been. Okay, he was eliminated by 18 points. If I'm reading the 2016 Talladega Fall Race Report correctly, Martin Truex Jr. was eliminated by 18 points.
You'd have to go back and add and see, because Chase Elliott's right behind him, Brad Keselowski's right behind him. Brad Keselowski might have beat him on points.
True.
At that point.
True. Mm-hmm.
All you can show with this is that he was 18 points, and that's behind actually Denny Hamlin, who tied with Austin Dillon and moved forward. But the other guys, Kyle Larson was right in there. Chase Elliott was right in there. Those guys might have beat him in points.
Yeah, wasn't that didn't Austin get eliminated in that race also?
Yeah, because
so it would have been.
He got eliminated because Denny Hamlin passed the car on the last lap.
That's right.
To tie him.
That's right.
And Denny had the tiebreaker.
So that's kind of the way the playoff standings are right now. Brad Keselowski would be your points leader, followed by Martin Truex Jr., then Kyle Larson, and you would have a tie with Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman. Kurt Busch also has a race win, so 5 playoff points. But Kyle Larson doing really well. 1 stage win and 1 race win and 1 stage wins got him up there in the 3rd position. So the playoff points are going to factor in a lot. It's kind of the whole point of this first turns conversation. That's the playoff picture for now. You can go to NASCAR.com and try to decipher that a little bit more if you want to. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We're going to talk with Wayne Q and John Orlowski, the owner for GOTRA, and Wayne Q is the the announcer for the series and the marketing coordinator for the Good Old Time Racing Association. We'll talk about when and where they're going to be coming up in turn number 2.
The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series is headed back to Topeka. Feel the power that pummels the senses with 10,000 horsepower at speeds over 330 miles per hour. Every ticket's a pit pass at the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Minties, May 19th through 21st at Heartland Park, Topeka. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Get tickets early and save at NHRA.com/tickets or call 800-884-NHRA. Ignite your senses.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Toyota Tundra 250 Truck Series race Friday, May 12th, and the Go Bowling 400 Cup Series race Saturday, May 13th are on sale now. They're available by calling 866-460-RACE or going to kansasspeedway.com. Get your tickets today for the Go Bowling 400. And don't forget the Friday night Truck Series race, kids 12 and under, get in for free. Make sure you get your tickets while they last. Again, kansasspeedway.com or call 866-460-RACE.
Go down a little early and plan on getting through that concourse.
There you go. All right, Wayne Q joining us on the show. Wayne, you're doing the track announcing for the GOTRA Series, the Good Old Time Racing Association. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, here during the winter here, John, I found out that John had taken over the GOTRA and that. So I called him up, and I was kind of looking, as you're aware of, I kind of been in a lot of different arenas in motorsports now, being an owner, driver, and promoting the shows that you and I have worked together on and the bit. So I thought, well, there's one thing I've never really done, and, besides being your announcer up at Denison, I want to get back to it. I've stepped out of motor racing here for a couple, 3 years now, and I just wanted to kind of do something. It was getting back in my blood. So John and I kind of talked, sent some emails back, and I said, well, I'd be interested in, being your race announcer and, maybe helping you with your media work and stuff and that. So we aren't, we got a contract all figured out. It's...
Yeah, it's now, Wayne, are you paying him to be a part of the series?
It's in John's budget.
John.
But no, so we, like I said, we ironed that contract out. But basically, and I'm going to go into this in a little bit. I think we got a super schedule this year. We got something like 13 shows or better. And John may have more coming. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to John Orlowski. He's the new owner, and he and his wife Brenda and the promoter. So let him give us a little history on the GOTRA, and then how he come about to him and his wife purchasing it, and what some of his plans are, what he'd like to kind of see done this season, and kind of something. I know for one thing, there's one word we like using, and John and I both agree on it. This is going to be a fun series. If there's no fun in it, you don't belong with us. Right. So I'm going to let John go ahead.
John, welcome to the show.
My name is John Orlowski Jr. I'm from Madison, Nebraska. We kind of stepped up to the plate. We decided to try to fill some very big shoes. John and Cheryl Ferguson and the Ferguson family started the Good Old Time Racing Association, GOTRA, back in 1996. We took it over. This will be our second year with handling the promotions. And we are a group of about 50 race-ready vintage cars. And these are steel-bodied, open-wheeled, real race cars.
Right.
Now, some of these are built from ground up. Some of these are found out in the trees. So some of these have NASCAR history. Some of them are just something that was in somebody's mind that they wanted to build. But that's kind of the long and short of GOTRA. GOTRA has cars ranging from 1927 all the way up to 1948.
And the goal is to kind of reconnect with the old racers, the old jalopies, and the guys that used to race at Sunset and Playland and Blue Heron and those guys that used to race. It's an opportunity for the young fans that are just getting into the sport, maybe somebody like me that's only been a part of it for a few years, or a young kid to kind of see what it used to look like.
Exactly. You've nailed it right on the head. When the Ferguson family started this, the number one rule is we're going to have fun. We're going to have emphasis on sportsmanship. We're going to have emphasis on teamwork, but you got to refer right back to rule number one.
Let's talk about some of the races that are coming up on your schedule. You guys are kicking things off. First race is going to be April 30th at Stuart Speedway.
Yes, and that's going to be our show. When I say our show, this is there's a flyer going around here, a Stuart flyer in there, which is very interesting because
it's a vintage flyer.
It's a vintage.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Here's the whole thing in a nutshell. It's going to be a combination day. Early in the afternoon, say about 11 a.m., we're going to have a show and shine, like a car show.
Okay.
You bring all your vintage automobiles out. We're going to get together, probably have some eats, a lot of discussion and that. And then the races start at 2:30.
Okay.
But we're not going to be a support or an exhibition class like we normally are. This is our show. Stuart has got together with John and Brenda, and they've more or less told John that GOTRA is going to be the show. So we're going to have. I'm going to let John kind of explain this as far as on the heats, on the consies. I don't know if we're going to do a trophy or not, and then how many cars can come out of each, and then what we do on the feature.
Okay.
Well, the whole Stuart race is pretty amazing because the very first race that was ever scheduled was rained out.
For the GOTRA series.
No, this is for
At
Stuart.
Stuart. Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Stuart is the one of the oldest running tracks in the state of Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
So they want us to run all the heat races, the trophy dashes. They've got some actual. They've got about 5 or 6 cars that are from Stuart that are actually not part of the GOTRA group, but they're going to show up and they're going to be able to run an exhibition race.
Awesome.
Just a neat bunch of people up there. Great track. It's a little small. We're gonna make that a big track with our GOTRA group this year.
It's a quarter miler with a lot of bite. Here's one of the very interesting things about this. As we mentioned, this is a retro. This goes back to like 1950 or 51, whenever the track was first built. And like John mentioned, they wanted us to come in and do the program. So what they've done is they've made all their prices retro. Cost you $1 to get in the gate. Kids get in for 50 cents.
Wow.
It costs you $3 for a pit pass. And
That's a heck of a deal. How are you guys going to make any money off that?
We have sponsors.
Awesome.
we got one of our big sponsors is Speedway Motors, and that we got more coming on board and that.
Cool. The Stuart Speedway race is going on again. Just pull up Google and search Good Old Time Racing Association or GOTRA for short. The website.
Like us on the Facebook
there
page.
There you go. Like it, like their page, and you'll get all the information. I really like the flyer you guys have designed. That's a really cool looking flyer. I'm going to try to steal one of those from you.
I think Stuart
just for my collection.
I think Stuart, one of the people up there, put this together because I was unaware of this, and then all of a sudden I seen it. Of course, I couldn't talk to John because John's been down in Louisville with these other business, and I've been up here trying to put some pieces together, and then all of a sudden this thing pops up.
It's a cool looking flyer. I think a lot of people are going to want
what
that.
What a way to kick off the season.
So then you guys have got races on May 4th at US 30 Speedway, and then May 13th Off-Road Speedway. So about every week to 2 weeks, you guys are at a different track.
Yeah, and let me just mention this. US 30 is basically going to be our home track. We got like 5 shows we're doing there.
I'd really like to bring up. There's an icon that raced with us last year, Bill Rick, and he's since passed on. But we have been contacted by Shelby County Speedway. We're going to have the Bill Rick Memorial there in Heartland, Iowa, on June 10th. Also at I-80 on July 7th, another Bill Rick tribute. We've had some amazing racers that have passed on, and it's nice to be able to give them a little kudos there.
Yeah, to pay the tribute to him. You know, we did that show just the weekend after Bill passed away, the Bill Rick Memorial Show. We had a couple of guys in here just kind of telling stories. But that was the only way I got to see Bill race was in his blue car running around in the GOTRA series. So this is the thing that I really love about your guys' series is that I get to see the old guys like Glenn Roby. And, you know, I don't really want to count Luke Cochran in that old guy category. Well, I do, but I'm trying to get him to sponsor the show, so I got to be a little nice to him. But you know, but Luke's a retired driver, and that's kind of the key is that the retired drivers that they get to come out and have fun. Rule number 1, again, have fun.
That's the basis of the group. You got to have fun. The Ferguson family pushed to make sure you have fun. They were very strict, but very fair with the rules. But refer back to number 1.
Is Bill's car still around?
Bill's car was not sold at the auction. I would love to have that hauler and that car at both of our shows.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have that up front.
With somebody from that family that could drive that as our pace car.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's what I would really
that would
like.
be really
Now,
we visited with Joyce, and she does not have a car trailer anymore, but our group has offered to pick up the car.
Yeah.
And have a family member drive that car as a pace car.
There's enough good people in this sport. I'm sure she won't have a problem getting that car.
From a liability standpoint, we prefer it be a family member in that.
Go to Good Old Time Racing Association for the website, and then there's a full schedule. You guys have some specials coming up at the end of the year. Let's cover those couple of specials.
Well, the big one is going to be the U.S. That's going to be the Cornhusker Vintage. That's where everybody comes in. I don't know if it's going to be an invitation or an open.
Nope, it is an open, and
you'll
see
anybody's invited to bring their car in.
Okay.
You'll see cars from I'm going to say 10 to 12 states.
Okay,
and there should be 80 to 100 cars there.
And that's going to wrap up your guys' season October 7th.
And then
we're going to
our final thing will be we're going to end up. Then John has arrangements in Madison where he lives to have the GOTRA banquet.
Awesome.
There.
Wayne Q, John Orlowski, almost got it. I'll get it right next time. The Good Old Time Racing Association. Do yourself a favor, like their Facebook page, Google them, get all sorts of familiarized with them, and then you can get out to the races and see them throughout the Midwest and throughout the area as they are doing their schedule. So Good Old Time Racing Association, John, Wayne, always do appreciate you guys joining us. Wayne, thank you for not breaking anything. We're going to wrap it up before you have any chance.
I'll mail these checks to you.
Thanks for having us.
We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Need a reason to be at Kansas Speedway when NASCAR returns on May 13th? Here's some. Reason number 18, the friction fueling phenom Kyle Busch. Reason number 48, 7-time champ Jimmy Johnson versus 14, Kansas's own Clint Boyer, grinding and battling at 180 miles per hour. Kinda hits you right in the adrenaline maker. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Go Bowling 400, live, Saturday night, May 13th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 3, brought to you by the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Menards at Heartland Park in Topeka on May 19th, 20th, and 21st. Get your tickets today by calling 1-800-884-NHRA or 1-800-884-6472. You can also go to heartlandpark.com for tickets and information.
Has the wonderful NHRA got back to us yet on who we're going to get to talk to this year? I know they gave us Tommy Johnson Jr. last year. Who they got lined up? Anybody yet?
Nobody yet. Have not heard to this point yet.
Well,
it's still a ways out. Unfortunately, these things happen really slowly, and they'll email me. So we record typically on Thursdays, and they'll probably email me on Tuesday and say, hey, you got so-and-so.
Well, I mean that's fine. I just wondered if they got back to us because I think that action is the week after the Cup race in Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
So
I'm going to have to email her and just say, hey, because of our schedule, because we're going to be live that morning, so we're not going to want to do any interviews that morning of the Kansas Cup race.
So it's going to have to be on our show on the 7th of May or something. I will. I've got some contacts in that world as a former participant. I'll get somebody on the local schedule to talk to us a little bit. I got a few names I can talk to.
Yeah, and talk about catching up to you. That would be if we want to do 2 interviews with NHRA, that would be next weekend's show and the May 7th show, and then we're at Kansas.
Well, either that or we just do one whole show with them and do two corners with some drag racer people.
I'm fine with that.
Do 2 corners with people that don't turn.
Let's talk about some of the news headlines. We'll kick it off with the weirdest news story of the week. So here's the way it happened. And I let's see. I'm trying to get my timeline right. Tuesday afternoon, I'm doing what I usually do. I'm surfing through Facebook before I leave home from work. And I see this article coming up, and it says, Kenseth set to retire immediately, Edwards to replace.
Yeah, I saw it Tuesday morning.
And when you see those things, do yourself a favor and do the world a favor. Before you share, look at the news source, because it was a site called 365react.com or something like that. It's the same rule of thumb that when you see an article that says, you're never going to believe what Obama's doing now, and it's Conservative Times Today. Probably not the best news source. Yeah. And vice versa. Can you believe what Trump's doing at Democrats.com? Not a great news source.
Well, I mean, I shared it over to you, and I like, well, this would be interesting. I didn't say, wow, look at this, my God.
When you sent it to me, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, I read the article, and I looked at the source, and I'm going, man, this makes no sense at all.
Here's the funny thing. That the thing that really made it funny for me, usually before I share an article, I need to make sure it's a legitimate site. NBC.com, FoxNews.com, I mean, as legitimate as NASCAR and Fox can be. As much as I don't like their broadcast, they do have some really good articles and really good reporters, or jski.com or motorsportsnetwork.com, mrn.com. There's sites that these guys are embedded in NASCAR. And I could not find, other than Jski, anybody else that was reporting about this Joe Gibbs Racing press conference.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's all Jayski's had, is they do have a press conference. It is at the Hall of Fame, but we don't know what it's about. Nobody will talk to it.
And it didn't say a time. Normally, when these things are normal, when the Carl Edwards thing came out, now, rumors had been swirling since, I think, Saturday or Sunday of that Tuesday press conference. So a couple of days ahead of time, there was rumors swirling that something was going on. I got a text message about it at the NASCAR, at the I-80 Speedway banquet, and I went over and talked to Joe and said, can you call Joe Koziski? And I said, can you call some people and find out for me? So there was rumors of this happening ahead of time, and then everybody got it on Monday. And Joe Gibbs Racing sent out a press release, said we're going to have a press conference at 10 a.m. Eastern Time at Joe Gibbs Racing facility, hosted by Carl Edwards. It was immediate advisory for everybody to get there. This one just said, we've scheduled Matt Kenseth will be hosting a press conference at the NASCAR Hall of Fame on April 19th. And that came out April 18th in the evening is when they released that article. But they didn't say what time. So when are we supposed to show up? And what really made it confusing to me is that nobody else was reporting it. NBC, Fox, NASCAR, it was nowhere to be found on NASCAR.com. It was nowhere to be found on the press releases from all the teams on my NASCAR media account. That's where I get most of my information for anything we do NASCAR, is all through that NASCAR media account. It was the weirdest thing in the world. And so it made you begin to think, is this a poorly covered quick announcement? Like, is it just what? You didn't really know what to believe. I was so lost.
Well, like we were, chatting back and forth a little bit. If this happens, all logic is gone in racing. And of course, then Stan Caesar come on with his favorite one in my best Tom Hanks voice. There's no logic in racing. But
it was so the press conference, which ended up happening at I got back from lunch at about 1:30 on Wednesday, and it was just wrapping up, so it had to have started at about 1 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah, I was going to say somebody posted something, and I don't remember checking the time, but they had posted on somebody else's page that they heard on Sirius that Matt Kenseth just announced a new sponsor.
That's all it was. That's all. And what makes it even more perplexing is that you think they would come out and say, Matt Kenseth to hold press conference with new sponsor at 1 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, April 19th. Why wouldn't you want people to tune in to see your sponsor?
Well, at least the time.
Yeah.
That was the perplexing part. Like I said, there was no time. When are they doing this? At midnight? Well, maybe he's going to retire if they're holding a press conference at midnight,
And to quell the rumor mill for retirement, Matt did end up saying, I hope to be racing in 2018. He wants to keep racing in 2018. Now, hopefully, and the only thing I thought could really lend any kind of credibility to an early retirement is the hard hits he's taken at the beginning of this year. Maybe he had a concussion. Maybe he needed to sit out for 5-10 races to recover, and maybe Carl Edwards was going to fill in for that time being. That was the only legitimate connection I could see when I'm sitting there trying to think, how could this really be happening? What could really be happening here? but it was a sponsor announcement.
Well, and I could have seen something. He's got, his kids racing a lot of ARCA and stuff now. Maybe if his kid had got hurt in a race, I could see him stepping away for a family issue like that.
Yep.
Or a sick wife or, whatever. There's a million and one things. But it was just
weirdest.
Like I told you, I said, if he retires right now and Carl comes back, there is something wrong with JGR.
Yeah.
There is definitely an internal issue with Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yep, absolutely. And it's and by the way, who was it? Dave Rogers just stepped away. I remember coming across that news article a couple of weeks ago. Crew chief for the number 19 of Daniel Suarez, who was Carl Edwards' crew chief, has stepped away for an indefinite leave of absence from Joe Gibbs Racing. And we're starting to look at this going, what the heck is going on? What is going on over there? And then you get this weird announcement that Matt Kenseth is going to be hosting a press conference. Even those words, what driver hosts a press conference? It's, please join us for a press conference with Matt Kenseth and so-and-so at this time. Matt Kenseth hosting a press conference? What is going on?
Yeah, maybe he's having a keg or two. Who knows? But,
I'd have joined that press conference.
But I'll tell you what, with the Rogers deal, we never talked a lot about it, but with him stepping away, to me, it adds a little more validity to the fact that Carl might show up somewhere else next year with Dave Rogers as a crew chief.
I know.
As screwy as it sounds, and Carl keeps saying that ain't happening, but that's his job, to deny it up until the end.
When you're under contract for a year with one team, but you've signed a contract for the future with another team, you have to be loyal to your current contract.
Well, and more than likely, the fact that he's under contract with JGR, he probably hasn't signed anything with anybody else.
Yeah.
But Carl's a man of his word, so if he's given a verbal, whether it be with Penske, because there's been rumors of him and running with Brad and Joey. So whether it's, he's given his word to Penske over with the captain, or he's given his word to an executive. The latest rumor coming is Dodge coming back by the 2019 or 2020 season. I don't think he wants to sit out 3 years.
Yeah, that'd be a little past his prime. Plus, he'd be so rusty getting back into the car.
So
let's continue with some of the news articles with the time we have left. Weather could be an issue today at Bristol. I want to bring that up because
imagine that.
Yeah, there's a storm system set to hit the area on Saturday. What would have been last night into today, so we could see some issues with rain throughout the area. If that is the case, I want to stress that if you don't get your pick in at the deadline set for today, that will not change. The deadline on the website will not change. But if the green flag has not waved, if they happen to delay the race for 3-4 hours, maybe even into Monday, I don't know how the website's going to handle it. Email me your pick. frontstretchradio@gmail.com, and I'll manually put it in for you. It was something we ran into at Texas. I didn't get a chance to talk about it during last weekend's show, but I flubbed a little bit. I thought the green flag waved at 1:30. It actually waved at 12:30. So I had a couple of people who had emailed me and said, hey, the site says I can't put my pick in. I'm trying to put in Harvick. I'm trying to put in Logano. I'm trying to do this. Send me your pick, and I can manually put it in for you. It's a little bit of a pain, so it's not something I want to do often. But in the case of a rain delay, I'm going to extend that deadline manually for just emailing it to us. I don't have any administrator rights to be able to extend it on the website. But I can manually put your pick in well after the race starts.
But remember, that email's got to be timestamped before that green flag flies. Even though that green flag, when it says 12:30, it's usually 12 or 15 minutes after. But we both track the races as much as we can, and so we email each other when the green flag throws. So we've got the timestamp. So you've got to be in before that. Don't wait. Until I'm going to wait until the green flag flies since I can't get it in and email him, and then have it come through late. And that's nothing we can control, but we will not put a pick in if it comes through with a late timestamp.
Absolutely. Well said. Charlotte Motor Speedway announced that it is shifting to daylight racing for its fall race. Now, last year's race was held at night, which it's been since, I believe, somewhere around 2002.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 or 15 years. Yeah, that's about right.
That the second race since then has been a night race. And they came out today, the track president for Charlotte Motor Speedway, and says that we've decided to listen to the fans and to the drivers, and we're going to shift to that Sunday race. So make a note on your calendars, because as we sent out earlier this year, it was a Saturday night, October 7th, green flag at about 6:15 p.m. It's now going to be a Sunday, October 8th, it'll be 1 p.m. our time, green flag, which, the drivers said that the track, after being repaved, is finally starting to get racy. And if you do it at night, that raciness is going to go away. We've got to have it during the daytime, and they've pushed hard for it, a lot of these drivers, and the fans have too. They want to be there on Sunday rather than Saturday night.
Well, you've also got your kind of primetime college football games on Saturday night. I bet that was as big a deal. And also, you are wrapping up all over the country a lot of Saturday night race seasons.
Yeah.
So that's a lot going into that one.
That's a big thing. Fans love seeing night races, but the networks hate them, because you talk about ratings being bad now. They're pitiful on a Saturday night. That's when most race fans are at dirt tracks, or most people are out and about. If they're casual race fans, they're going out on Saturday night with the significant other or the friends or what have you. So it's a good move, and I applaud Charlotte for doing this. They said, we got to shift it, and they're not waiting a year to shift it. They're doing it now. And by the way, the race will be on NBC instead of NBCSN, so they're jumping up to the big network with that shift. That's going to allow them to go to NBC on that Sunday and pick up the much bigger network.
I'm surprised NBC doesn't have a football game that they're going to have to mess around with, so they must be doing the Sunday night football or something that week, because otherwise they'd be battling a football game.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. NBC, they don't have football anymore. It's all Fox and CBS, I guess.
Did NBC lose it? I thought they had the Sunday night football. I thought that was NBC.
maybe that's all they've got then. But I was thinking for some reason they had the day games, but they don't have the day games. They just have the night games, so they'll be all right. Unless of a rain delay.
Yeah, I've never heard of a track doing that. But I haven't been in it near as long as you have, and near as long as some of our listeners.
Well, I don't really think that's a monster deal, because they set these schedules up so far in advance, and I mean, maybe they were just having very slow ticket sales.
That could be. And I wonder, logistically, for fans that had bought their tickets for Saturday night, how would that affect them? And, really kind of thinking about it, I don't think it's going to affect fans much at all, because those that are out of town probably had Saturday night hotels anyways.
Yeah, but
now,
they might have had Sunday morning flights.
Maybe Sunday morning flight would have been it. So, maybe they just have to adjust their flight. And airlines are okay with that. I mean, you may have to pay a slight fee to shift to the next day. But I would think that if an airline's packed on, I know there's a United Airways, there's a United joke
that just went past my head. Did you see the one that I saw it first time today, being pre-recorded Thursday, so the first time 3 days ago, that showed a United Airlines jet all crashed and torn apart, and it said they tried to throw off Chuck Norris.
I haven't seen that yet. We got one more news article to get to before we wrap up this turn. Crew Chief Paul Wolf will be at Bristol today, or maybe tomorrow, depending on the weather.
Second level appeal.
Yep. Team Penske lost their second appeal. They are now on to their final appeal, which is set for the 25th of this week, which is that Wednesday? I think that's Wednesday. No, that's Tuesday.
Tuesday. I was going to say it's the middle of the week.
So that's Tuesday. We'll find out if the appeal will, and it'll go to the final appeal board, and to see if they can get the penalty reduced. Paul still has 2 races left to serve on his 3-race suspension. So Paul Wolf back at the track for Bristol. If it goes south for him, he'll miss Richmond and Talladega.
And I did a little research on that, and I can't find anybody that has an idea of what they could have done during the race to change what they changed. Mm-hmm. So whatever it was they did, evidently NASCAR possibly didn't check it in pre-race tech and then check different stuff post-race, or missed it. I don't know which.
Could be one of the two, and maybe that's the reason why we're seeing this series of appeals, because Penske's saying, hey, you know what? You missed it. Or you got it wrong.
Well, and NASCAR might be doing it, and again, having been there, NASCAR might be saying, look, we just didn't check it before the race. It's on you to make it right.
Yeah.
We checked it after the race, and it was wrong. So
we're going to – sorry, did I cut you off there?
No.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back, turn number 4. We'll wrap this baby up, talk about Bristol and what they're doing to make the racing action just a little bit better. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series is headed back to Topeka. Feel the power that pummels the senses with 10,000 horsepower at speeds over 330 miles per hour. Every ticket's a pit pass at the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Minties, May 19th through 21st at Heartland Park, Topeka. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Get tickets early and save at nhra.com/tickets or call 800-884-NHRA. Ignite your senses. Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up, heading into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube at Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get over to Quaker Steak and Lube today to watch all the action for today's Food City 500 at Bristol. Coverage is on Fox and PRN starting at 12:30 with the green flag set to wave just a little bit after 1 o'clock. All picks for the contest on the website are due by 1. If we happen to have any kind of a rain delay or you miss it and it's 102, 103, whatever, you can email me, frontstretchradio@gmail.com. As long as it's before the green flag, I'll manually put your pick in. Just do me a favor and try not to make that a habit, because the great thing about the website is that it takes a lot of the human element out of it.
Yeah, and with our sponsor handling this for us, Mr. Rick Havenridge, which we thank again. We don't like to be jumping in the middle of it. Obviously, we're going to be fair. We don't have anything on the line here. We're hoping everybody has a good time. We want to see 2 people win that Crewmen for a Day contest and go down to Kansas City and have an excellent adventure. And believe me, it will be an adventure for you, because it's a whole nother world down there if you haven't ever been down there.
Oh, it's going to be so cool to sit with the Mittler brothers and to watch that whole thing unfold and to be able to sit on the pit box. You know, the great thing about, Richard Childress Racing did a really good job for us last year, but, they have a level, they're only able to divert a certain amount of attention. I think the Mittler brothers are going to have much more attention, especially since it's a truck series race. It's going to be a lot calmer. The team's going to be able to get you involved. If you're physically able, they're going to get you very involved with the day-to-day operations at a racetrack.
And I've been doing a little bit of research on Mike Mittler. I found some stuff out that I didn't know before. Back when Rusty Wallace was running ASA, I mean, Rusty's out of that St. Louis area, same as Kenny Schrader. But Mike Mittler used to be on the crew for Rusty at his ASA races back in the 80s when he was, a weekend warrior with Mark Martin and stuff. Yeah. And I mean, Mark Martin was one of the greatest ASA racers they've ever had. Won, championship after championship, but Rusty was a very competitive racer. Obviously moved up to the cup level and won a title. So, but yeah, Mike was involved with Rusty, and they still remain good friends. But if you ever get in the need, and if you've got a race shop or something and you want to buy a bead roller or any of that type of equipment that will help with all the way up to a shaker rig. They do shaker rigs down there. You need to give Mittler Brothers a look. I know from talking to Mike that the Kosiski boys over the years have bought plenty of tools from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a really cool event down at Kansas, and we're working on one for Iowa. I think we actually probably need to start moving on that now, don't we, Dirk? I need to finally get on the ball and start working with teams on that.
Well, I think we got a team set up. We just got to get the okay from the Speedway. I think we've got a team pretty well lined up, and the races over there only being a few weeks apart, we toyed with the idea of trying to, do both races over there, but they're just too close together to be able to do them both.
Yeah.
We'd have our contests overlap, and okay, you've got your season-long contest. Now do you have your 3-5-week picks in? So we didn't want to get into that, and so we're going to work with the second race, which is, I believe, July 29th. I believe it's a Saturday afternoon race at Newton. It's like a 2 p.m. race. Yep. And then we'll come back and hopefully work with Brendan Gaughan again and Richard Childress Racing at Kansas in October.
That'd be really cool. Let's talk about the Crewmen for a Day contest. 2 races left. There is Bristol and Richmond to get it done and to be in the top 5 to win the prize packs. Right now, Lane Cornwell has a 5-point lead over Holly Humphrey and a 8-point lead over Shala and Brandon Broadhammer in third. There's actually a 3-way tie for third, and then Kathy Broadhammer. So both of them, all 3 of those, Shala, Kathy, and Brandon, all tied for third. So after that, the Racing Realtor, Jim Blazina, and it's a tight race, 150s, 140s. Still, I think with 2 races left to go, probably the cutoff's going to be top 10, maybe top 15, which is, 134 to 1. So about 30 points back. That may be quite a bit to make up in 2 races.
Well, somebody blows an engine or something, and you got the hot guy that, wins a couple stages, and racks down, 65 points or whatever, or 60 points for the day. You can make up a lot of ground in a hurry. And
at Bristol and Richmond, long green flag runs, some of the more talented, more of the top running guys can get down a lap, and then their day is just they can't get back on the lead lap to really make any progress.
You're really struggling at Bristol when you if you don't have a good qualifying effort. That's why I said you didn't see anybody not qualify at Martinsville, and you'll see everybody try to qualify at Bristol.
Right.
They're not going to say, "Well, I've got all day to get up from the 40th spot." No, not at Bristol or Richmond.
And if anybody has to start from the back, it's always been my rule of thumb is do not take them for a pick, because there are too many chances that they're going to go down a lap, or they're going to get stuck in traffic, or they're going to get stuck in a wreck. So I try to stay away from them. Like you were talking about, 1.5-mile tracks, there's a much better chance they're going to be able to work their way through the field.
Yeah, traffic thins out, and you got a lot of room to run, where, Bristol especially, they've got some new stuff going on at the racetrack, and hopefully it'll turn it into a better 2-lane track. It seemed like the last couple of years since they've done the repaving, you can set your car up high, or you can set it up low. Both grooves are pretty equal on the clock. But how you get through the corner, the guy that can make the adjustments to cover both ends, because if he's trying to pass a guy that's in the top groove, and that's where he's been running all day, he's going to have to go to the bottom.
Yeah.
And the guy that's got enough adjustment in his car to make his car work on the bottom, is going to be the faster of the 2 cars.
And it'll be interesting today, because remember last year they sprayed that solution, that whatever on the
supposed
groove.
To be like Coke syrup or whatever, and made it sticky.
It's the same stuff that the NHRA sprays on the starting line to make the tires more tacky and grip better. I think it's the same stuff or very similar stuff, and they're using it again this year for today's race. They're actually going to expand out how far they spray that up the track too, so that'll help with bringing the action into both grooves, because it was really kind of cool at Martinsville. For a while there, we saw a second lane being able to fight that inner lane, and it'll be cool at Bristol if we can see that same thing.
Yeah, and and then of course they're obviously, I said we've already talked about, they're looking at possibly some weather coming in. If they put that stuff on and the weather washes it off, then you're back to square one.
Right.
Because that's stuff that has to be put on. They can't just put it on 10 minutes before the race.
It has to sit overnight, doesn't it?
I don't know if it definitely has to sit overnight, because they don't make it sit overnight at an NHRA event. But it's a totally different deal as far as how quick the heat goes into a car. When you do a burnout at an NHRA event, you've got the heat in your tires right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait 4 or 5 laps of racing. So, I really never experienced that stuff. We just used water in the bleach box back when I was drag racing, so I can tell you what water does to a tire. But some of this other stuff I really don't know.
For the season-long contest presented by Rick Havenridge, Orlando Adams. I believe he was last year's champion, wasn't he?
I do believe.
Leading again, 299 points. He is 3 above Devin Peterson. I believe Devin drives a B-mod around the area. I know he's out of I-80 Speedway. I can't remember where else he drives. And then Jim Blazina also drives a B-mod in 3rd place. Chris LaFoy in 5th, then Terry Havenridge. Chris LaFoy, Terry Havenridge, David Ackerson, and Kathy Broadhammer all tied for 4th. And then Jennifer Preston, Holly Humphrey, Karen Smith tied for all up there in the top 10 also. So that's, and I know I listed off because there's a lot of ties still throughout the field. As the season kind of works on, you'll start to see that separate a little bit more, and then you'll start to see some big changes. But
where's yours truly sitting in there?
Oh, let's see. 14th, 266 points, you're 33 back.
Well, that's not too bad. When I had a 21 there at Texas, and got a couple stage wins. So he scored a bunch of points, but got behind and wasn't able to catch back up.
Here's how close I am.
Yeah.
No wins.
You're a couple races behind.
No top 5s. No top 10s. 213 points. I'm 86 points back. I have got to start getting wins.
You're a race and a half behind.
And the sad thing is, my girlfriend's playing in both contests, and she is just whooping my butt. It's because she loves to do this. Oh, who did you take? Oh, well, me, the casual fan, I took so-and-so, and I got 5th.
Because he's got a blue car.
It's tough, but it's also fun. It's what adds kind of fun to the contest, and I hope everyone's having fun. Again, if you want to get involved in the coming 5-week contests, email us frontstretchradio@gmail.com. We're going to have much more advance notice for those contests, so there'll be Facebook posts and information to come out, but it's never too early to get signed up for these contests.
Where are we looking at? We're looking about the 1st of June or so to get that one started, right?
Oh, I think so, yeah. So it's not going to be too long after the Kansas Speedway wrap-up. I believe we are scheduled to announce it the weekend after Kansas Speedway.
Yeah.
And so that gives us like 2 or 3 weeks of promotion and getting the word out there to get more people involved in it. But yeah.
We need to wrap it up by the middle of July, and then we've got... that
gives you 2 weeks to make your arrangements.
And I don't remember, did we start last week's Kansas contest at Richmond?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
No. We ended at Richmond. We started at an auto club. Last year's Kansas contest?
Right. I thought we started at Richmond because we ended it like 2 weeks before the contest.
Yeah, we did. We started at Richmond, the race 26 on the schedule for 2016. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about this current contest.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we tried to give
next week.
We try to give you.
We're ending it at Richmond.
We try to give you 2 weeks notice so that way you've got time that when you win the prize pack, you got time to try to get hotels, try to get arrangements at various places.
Well, and especially with the May race coming up, since it's a Friday, with the truck race, you're going to need to take your day off work if you have a job, but if you're a self-made millionaire, good luck for you and happy living.
If you're a self-made millionaire, feel free to share.
Yeah, we could always use new sponsors.
And Dirk could use a new car, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it was not a good week.
We're going to end it there so that we don't bring you down on your Sunday because Dirk had a rough week. But this week's going to be better, right?
Well, actually, the way Tuesday was this week, I don't think could be a lot worse, but I suppose I could fall down some steps and break my neck.
We never know. You never tempt fate. It could always get worse from here. We'll be back again next weekend to do it all over again. We're going to hopefully have an NHRA member on the show. We're going to work on getting Jordan Grabowski to join us next weekend and talk. Also, Danny Lasowski, Luke Cochran, Adam Armstrong. Got a lot of guys coming up in the next couple of weeks.
It's weekly racing season. Get out and support your weekly track and watch some of the action.
Absolutely. Come say hi to me. I'm out at I-80 on Fridays, Eagles on Saturday, and Dirk, you're kind of out in various places.
I'm here, there, and everywhere.
All right, we'll do it again next weekend for the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
NASCAR returns to Kansas Speedway May 13th. Here's some reasons to be there. Reason number 88, Dale Flippin Jr. Enough said. Number 2, Keselowski-style cold ones are always BYOB. Reason 78, your memory of Martin Truex Jr. will be both crystal clear and a blur. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Go Bowling 400. Live, Saturday night, May 13th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.